I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about how I got played by my wife, but here I am. Her name, Emily, and she's always been the kind of woman who could turn on the charm with a smirk and a quick insult if the mood suited her. We've been married for about 5 years now, and honestly, I always thought we had a good thing going. Nothing perfect, maybe, but solid enough. She's beautiful, funny, sharp as hell. At least, that's what I thought. Until everything started to fall apart. It started small, as most things do. Little things that didn't quite add up. Emily started coming home later than usual, claiming she was working late or meeting with the girls. Fine, I thought. Work's busy, she's got a big project, whatever. But then I noticed she was taking her phone everywhere, more secretive than usual. She'd put it face down whenever I entered the room, and sometimes I could swear I saw her quickly delete messages or close tabs on her browser. I didn't want to be paranoid. I told myself maybe I was just being insecure, that maybe I was overthinking it. Then came the night of the housewarming party. We threw it big, invited friends, family, everyone we knew. Emily was in her element, dressed to kill, acting flirty with everyone, especially a guy named Jake. He's an old friend of hers, she'd always claimed, just a childhood buddy. I'd heard her talk about him in passing, but I never paid much attention. Anyway, the party was fun, lively. Emily seemed happy, a little too happy, honestly, like she was hiding something. I brushed it off, enjoying the company and trying to hold on to the good vibes. But after everyone left, I decided to check the security system I'd installed a few months back. Thought it might be good for peace of mind, especially with her disappearing so often. Turns out the cameras caught something I didn't want to see. Around midnight, I saw Emily and Jake sneaking out to the backyard. They didn't just step outside for fresh air. No, they went for a swim. I was stunned. The footage showed them slipping out of the house, into the backyard, and then, somehow, they managed to get into the pool together. That's when I realized this was no innocent reunion. The camera did lie. They weren't just childhood friends reconnecting, they were fucking. It was obvious from the way they acted, the way Emily's hand was on his chest, her body close to his. I felt a punch in the gut, like someone had just sucker punched me while I was asleep. My stomach turned and I couldn't tear my eyes away. How long had this been going on? Had she been sneaking around all along? I'd always suspected she had a bit of a temper, but I never thought she'd cheat on me. Not with her big plans, her career ambitions, or whatever excuse she'd come up with. I don't remember going to bed that night. I just sat there staring at the screen, feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. The truth was right there in front of me. She'd lied about everything, played me for a fool. And the worst part, I still loved her. Despite everything, I still wanted to believe there was a way out, a way to make sense of this mess. But deep down, I knew I wasn't going to be able to forget what I saw. That image, her face pressed against his, her hand on his shoulder, the way she looked so carefree. How could she do that to me? How could she betray everything we built? That night I cried, not just from the shock, but from a kind of heartbreak I'd never experienced before. I kept asking myself if I'd missed the signs, if I was blind or just stupid. I guess I'd been so wrapped up in the idea of us. I hadn't seen the cracks forming right under my nose. And now I was stuck with this gnawing feeling, anger, betrayal, and a deep, aching sadness that I'd never really known how fragile everything was until that moment. The next morning, I couldn't even get out of bed right away. My mind kept replaying everything I'd seen, the way Emily and Jake had acted, the way she looked at him like he was her whole world in that moment. I felt sick, honestly. I kept asking myself what I did wrong, if I missed the signs, or if I was just too blind to see her real side. That little voice inside my head kept telling me I should confront her, demand the truth, but part of me was scared stiff. What do you even say when your wife, the woman you trusted more than anyone, has been cheating on you with someone she claimed was just a childhood friend? Eventually, I got up and made coffee. My hands were trembling and I kept glancing at my phone, wondering if I should call her or maybe just pack up and leave. But I didn't want to make any rash decisions. I needed to hear her side of the story, or more accurately, I needed to see how she'd lie her way out of this, because I knew she would. Later that day, she came home early looking annoyed, like she'd been caught in traffic or dealing with some bullshit at work. She was in a foul mood, snapping at me over small things, not meeting my eyes. I decided I couldn't hold back anymore. When she finally sat down across from me, I dropped the bomb. I showed her the footage, the video from the security system. Her face twisted into a mask of contempt like I'd just accused her of stealing something. She scoffed. "Oh, come on, Jason. That's a bunch of bullshit. You're overreacting, it's nothing. Just two friends hanging out. You're reading into it too much." I stared at her, betraying shock and anger. "That's a pool, Emily, at midnight. You and Jake sneaking outside, then into the pool. Explain that." She rolled her eyes. "God, you're such a drama queen. You really think I'm stupid enough to cheat in my own backyard? You're paranoid." I couldn't believe her. She had the nerve to insult me, to deny what I'd seen with my own eyes. My blood boiled. How dare she call me paranoid? How dare she lie so easily? That's when I knew I had to get more evidence to see if there was more to uncover. I couldn't trust her anymore, not after this. Every little thing suddenly seemed suspicious. And then she started in on me again, saying I was just insecure, that I was imagining things, that I was jealous of her friendship with Jake. She said I was too controlling, that I didn't trust her. I wanted to scream. I felt like I was losing my mind. How could she just lie like that? How could she sit there and deny the truth when I'd caught her red-handed? That moment was a turning point. I knew I couldn't just sit there and pretend everything was okay. I had to figure out what to do next. All I could think about was how she had betrayed me, how she thought she could lie her way out of it. I was furious and hurt and completely lost. I kept asking myself, was this the woman I married? Or was she just pretending all along? My trust was shattered, and I knew the only way forward was to find out the full story, no matter what it took. After that confrontation, everything changed. Emily kept up her act, throwing around accusations and dismissing my questions like I was some kind of jealous psycho. But I wasn't about to let her gaslight me into silence. I started digging more, going through her phone, her emails, anything I could get my hands on. I needed the truth, and I knew she was lying through her teeth. One night I found a message on her email, just a snippet but enough to blow everything wide open. It was from Jake. It said something like, "Can't wait to see you tonight, it's been too long." I stared at it. For a long time, my stomach tightening. That wasn't just a friendly message. That was a clear sign she'd been planning more than just a quick meetup. I felt my chest tighten with rage. How long had this been going on? Was this just a fling, or was it something deeper? My mind raced, trying to piece it all together. The next day, I decided I needed to talk to Jake directly. I did some digging, found his number, and called him. He answered with that cocky, casual tone of his, like he didn't think I was a threat. I told him I knew everything, the pool, the messages, how Emily had been lying. He tried to play it off, saying they were just friends, that nothing serious was happening. I told him I didn't buy it, that I had the evidence. That's when he got quiet. Said he didn't want trouble, but he also didn't deny anything. Said Emily was a lot to handle, and that they'd been close for a long time. It was all so clear now. She'd been hiding this from me, sneaking around, lying every step of the way. Now I was really pissed. I'd always been a good husband, worked hard, stayed loyal, did everything I could to keep us afloat. And she'd just been out there fucking around with her childhood friend, pretending she was innocent. How could she be so cold, so selfish? I felt a mixture of anger and heartbreak I couldn't even put into words, so I decided to confront her again. This time I didn't hold back. I told her I knew everything about Jake, the messages, the pool. I told her I'd had enough of her lies. Her reaction. She looked at me with that same bitchy smirk she always had when she thought she was in control. "You're overreacting, Jason. You always do. You're just jealous because I have a life outside of you." That was her excuse, her go-to bullshit. She said I was paranoid, that I was accusing her of something she didn't do, that I was controlling. I couldn't believe her. I felt like I was losing my mind. The woman I loved, the woman I married, was a master manipulator. She was twisting everything to make me doubt myself, but I knew the truth. I had the evidence, and I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. The entire foundation of our marriage was a lie. I was furious, hurt, and feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach so hard I couldn't breathe. I didn't know what to do next, but I knew one thing. The woman I thought I knew was gone, and I had to figure out what was left of my life without her. The days that followed were a blur of anger, confusion, and a strange numbness. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and every time I looked at her, I saw the lies behind her eyes. Emily kept up her usual bitchy attitude, throwing fits over little things, acting like I was the one overreacting. She'd call me paranoid, accuse me of stalking her, or say I was just jealous of her friendship with Jake. Honestly, I was too drained to argue anymore. Every conversation turned into a fight. Every word she said sounded like another lie. I started to realize that her stories didn't add up and that she was trying to gaslight me, turn me into the villain in her perfect little story. But I wasn't going to let her win. I was tired of her bullshit, tired of feeling like I was losing my mind. So I made a decision. I needed to get real proof, more than just the footage and the messages. I needed to catch her in the act if possible. I needed to see her, not just hear her lies. That's when I remembered I'd installed that security system. It was supposed to be for safety, but I'd never thought I'd actually use it to catch her cheating. I set it up to record everything, video and audio, over the next few nights. I didn't tell her about it because I knew she'd flip out, probably lie even more. I wanted to see her without her spinning stories, without her acting innocent or victimized. I just wanted the truth. The first night of recording, I stayed up late, pretending to sleep, watching the monitor. Around midnight, the camera caught her sneaking out of the bedroom. She tiptoed past the bed, dressed quickly, and slipped out of the house with Jake. I could see her whispering something, then slipping into the backyard again. The footage was crystal clear. They went straight to the pool, took off their clothes, and no surprise, fucking in my backyard. I couldn't believe it. She was actually doing it right in our own house. The worst part, the camera caught her moaning, her body pressed against him in a way that left no doubt about what they were doing. I saw her fingers tangling in his hair, her lips pressed to his neck. That was the moment I realized I was not just betrayed, I was humiliated. My wife, my partner, the woman I thought was loyal, was out there doing this in my house, behind my back, while I was asleep upstairs. I felt sick all over again. My stomach turned and I had to step back from the monitor, overwhelmed by a mix of rage and despair. That night I couldn't sleep again. I kept replaying everything I'd seen, trying to understand how she could be so cruel, so heartless. I'd loved her, trusted her. Hell, I even defended her when people said she was bitchy or difficult. Now I saw her for who she really was, a liar, a cheat, someone capable of destroying everything we had built without a second thought. The image of her in that pool, her body pressed against Jake, kept flashing in my mind. It was like a punch to the gut every time. I had to face the fact that she'd been lying to me for months, maybe longer. The hardest part was knowing I still loved her, even now. Despite everything, her lies, her betrayal, I still wanted her to be different. I wanted to believe this was all some horrible mistake, some misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew better. I knew I had to make a choice. I couldn't go on pretending she was innocent, not after what I saw. I felt wounded, broken, and completely lost. But I also knew I couldn't stay in this chaos forever. I had to decide whether I was going to forgive her or finally walk away from this nightmare. The days after I saw the footage were hell. I felt like I was living someone else's life, like I was just a passive observer watching my own marriage burn down. I tried to talk to Emily again, but every time I brought up what I saw, she'd either dismiss me with her bitchy smirk or turn it around to make it seem like I was the one at fault. "You're insecure," she'd say. "You don't trust me, or you're just jealous because I have a life outside of your boring ass." Her words cut deep, but I wasn't buying her bullshit anymore. I knew what she was trying to do: manipulate, gaslight, make me doubt my own sanity. I also realized I couldn't keep this secret anymore. I had to decide what to do next. I couldn't stay in a marriage where I was constantly betrayed and lied to. I was angry, yes, but mostly I was heartbroken. I'd loved her, thought she was the one for me. But now every moment with her felt like I was living in a nightmare. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me into staying silent. I had to face her and tell her I knew the truth, and I was done pretending everything was fine. So one evening I sat her down in the living room. I told her I knew everything about Jake, the pool, the messages, the secret nights. I told her I'd seen the footage, that I had proof. Her face twisted with that same contemptuous smirk, like she thought she could just lie her way out of this. "You're crazy," she spat. "You're making things up, you're stalking me." Her voice was high, defensive, like she was trying to convince herself as much as me, but I could see the panic hiding behind her eyes. She knew she'd been caught. I told her I was done, that I couldn't keep living with her lies, her manipulations, that I was walking away and she could go ahead and keep pretending she was innocent. I told her I was tired of her bullshit, tired of feeling like a fool. That her affair, her betrayal, had broken whatever trust we once had. I didn't say I was filing for divorce yet, but I knew I was close to that point. Her reaction, she threw a fit, started yelling at me, calling me crazy, saying I was ruining everything, that I was insecure and jealous. She called me names, tried to make me feel guilty, but I just sat there, cold and numb. Inside, I felt a strange mixture of relief and devastation. This was the woman I'd loved, the woman I'd trusted, and she'd thrown it all away for some stupid fling. I realized I'd been living in a lie, and I couldn't hold on to it anymore. That night I packed a bag and left her in that house. I stayed with a friend for a few days, trying to get my head clear. Every time I thought about her, about what she did, I felt sick. But I also felt a strange sense of liberation. I finally saw her for who she really was, someone selfish, manipulative, and utterly incapable of loyalty. And I knew I'd never let her do this to me again. I was done chasing the illusion of a perfect marriage. From now on, I'd focus on healing, on rebuilding myself. Because if I didn't, I'd just be another fool, sitting there while she played her game. And I refused to be that guy anymore. Looking back now, I realize how much this whole experience changed me. The betrayal cut deeper than I ever expected, and honestly, I don't think I'll ever fully get over the sting of it. But it also taught me something important: how to trust my instincts, how to see through the bullshit, and most importantly, how to value myself more than I ever did before. Emily's lies and manipulations made me question everything, but in the end, it forced me to confront who I am and what I deserve. Since I left, I've been focusing on myself. It's not easy. I still feel that ache, that hollow feeling in my chest. Sometimes I catch myself thinking about her, about what could have been, but I force myself to remember what she did. No one deserves to be treated like that, and I refuse to let her weaponize her betrayal and guilt-tripping keep me bound. I've started going out more, reconnecting with friends, and honestly rediscovering what makes me happy outside of her. One thing I've learned is that relationships, no matter how perfect they seem on the surface, can hide ugly truths. And sometimes, the biggest betrayal doesn't come from a stranger. It comes from someone you loved and trusted with all your heart. That kind of betrayal leaves scars, sure, but it also gives you clarity. I see now that I was so blinded by love that I ignored the red flags, the way her behavior shifted, the lies she told. It's a harsh lesson, but a necessary one. If there's any advice I'd want to give to anyone going through something similar, it's this: trust your gut. Don't ignore the signs. If something feels off, it probably is. And don't be afraid to face the truth head-on, even if it hurts, because staying in denial only prolongs the pain. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to walk away, no matter how hard it is. You owe it to yourself to find happiness and peace, even if that means starting over after everything falls apart. I don't regret what happened, even with how painful it was. It opened my eyes and forced me to reevaluate what I want out of life and love. I know now that I won't settle for less than honesty, loyalty, and respect. And I hope anyone reading this who's in a similar situation finds the strength to face their truth, too. Because, in the end, the only person who can truly save you from betrayal is yourself. And I'm finally learning how to do that.